Well, hello everybody. I am Louise Eddington. I am the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and this could be long. We have probably the most challenging week of the year coming up. Now, of course, some of us will float through this completely unaffected, but there's going to be a lot of drama and a lot of stuff going on. So I called this week as feeling like being squeezed in a vice. Okay, it would be a good week to really lean in and do the work. Okay, that you're being asked to do, whatever that is in any way. I will be sharing the screen because that's the way I work. I like to share it, and maybe you'll learn some astrology along the way as I share. If you don't understand the astrology, just listen to the words. I will talk about things and explain them as I go. So actually, I'm just going to stop the share a little bit because I forgot to put up something I want to put up. All right, so this is where we're at. We're on here on Sunday, the 27th, and I'm going to take you through the week that is just crazy challenging. I'll probably take you into a week on Monday. But we've had some energy changes instantly overnight. Okay, last night, Saturday night, early today on Sunday for some of you, we had Mercury and two energy shifts. We had Mercury move into Scorpio. And Scorpio, Mercury is our mind, our communications, our way we think, the way we listen also. And Mercury in Scorpio takes a real deep dive. Mercury likes meaningful, deep conversations. Mercury in Scorpio is very investigative. It's kind of the mental detective of the universe. It likes to dig deep and find the hidden gems or information. So Mercury going into Scorpio could indeed be take us will indeed take us to deep conversations and some very deep thoughts as well, and possibly quite dark at times. But you know, you can deal with that how you deal with it. It's approaching a conjunction. Mercury, he's moving fairly slowly, but this week he will conjunct Juno. But even more, and so the rights of the oppressed and the minorities and the marginalized, let's say, will be to the fore of your thoughts, possibly. And of course that means different things for different people. I've been trying to take a real step back about the issues of the world. And of course, it's undoubted that Black people have been marginalized in the USA. But if you try and look at it from another perspective, some people will think that the unborn baby is a marginalized thing, and you might not agree, but this is where people's thoughts are going. But the other thing to say about Mercury is that his dive into Scorpio means that he is approaching his next retrograde, and that starts on October the 13th. Oh goodness, I should have got that list up before I started. So let me just get those retrogrades up. Oh, there we go. He turns retrograde. I got the degree, but sorry, the date. Well, it's October the 13th or 14th, dependent on where you are, at 11 degrees of Scorpio, and he will go retrograde till November the 3rd and turn direct at 25 degrees of Libra. So he turns retrograde right after the hearing has been said to be set for the Supreme Court Justice in the USA, which could change a lot of the trajectory of our future. But he's going retrograde. and then he turns direct the day after the election. So this is the day of the election in the USA. So just saying, I don't want to make it all on the USA. But anyway, so that's Mercury. But also, so he's gone a deep dive, and also Mercury is a fixed sign. It can get obsessive, can get very fixed thoughts, can get very well, obsessive is a good word. Just like really diving in and kind of like focused on this one thing. Okay, that's can be Mercury in Scorpio. But Ceres also has just moved back into Aquarius from Pisces. She stationed retrograde back on July the 7th at, and I need to get the other thing up, she at 12 degrees of Pisces, which was the degree that Mercury stationed retrograde at on February the 17th, 2020. And Mercury stationed direct on March the 10th, 2020 at 28 degrees of Aquarius. And that's where Ceres is going to station direct on October the 16th. So we have Ceres also moving back into a fixed sign. Aquarius is fixed. It's bringing us echoes of that period from February the 17th to March the 10th of this year, because Ceres has covered the same degrees. And this is all at the same time as Mercury is heading for another retrograde. So we're getting real revisiting of themes that have come from through the year. And Ceres will station direct on October the 16th, 3 days after Mercury stations retrograde. So Ceres and Mercury have got this dance going on. And Ceres is the rights of the plebeians. She was the goddess of the common people, but she was also the goddess of the grain and the harvest and reaping what we sow kind of thing. And also she represents grief and forgiveness and cycles of grief and forgiveness and loss, because she lost her daughter to Pluto in Hades. So she represents all these things. So they've got a lot swirling around in all of this that is really taking us down into to deep places. Okay. So those are the first two I want to mention. That's where we've started. So, you know, we're echoing back to, as I said, prior to when this was all named a pandemic, when the pandemic was named. We're echoing back to before the lockdowns. And of course, Pluto is back to 22 degrees where he was. I want to put a chart up, show you. January the 12th, 2020. So even before that, Pluto was at 22 degrees, exactly conjunct Saturn. So Pluto is pretty much conjunct those degrees. And guess who was there as well? Ceres. And Venus was at 28 degrees, which is the degree that Mercury stationed direct at and that Ceres is going to station direct at. So sorry if that's all a bit complex, but what I'm bringing up is I feel that we are at a crisis, which is a crossroads, a big energy this week that's harking us back to when all of this began, and is going to churn a lot of stuff up and is going to bring up a lot of stuff about where we go from here with all of this. And I've talked about the pandemic, but of course it's not just that. You know, our institutions are struggling. Our governments are in crisis, and there's so much going on, but it's all being brought to a head. So that's where we start. Oh my goodness, as if that's not enough. Okay, so just getting my list up so I don't miss any things, because here we are on September the 27th. All right. Venus is quite active this week, okay, because at the same time as we start, Venus is over here in Leo at that 24-degree mark that's so highlighted, and she is coming up to trine Mars, Eris, first of all, Eris, who's causing discord and chaos in the world, and Mars, who is in a rare retrograde in Aries. 1988 and 1941 were the first ones. And then she is also going to hit 24 degrees to form an inconjunct with Saturn, who is stationing direct right afterwards. So what does that all mean? All right. And then as well, we've got Mars-Saturn square coming, let me see, how many hours? Less than 12 hours after Saturn stations direct. So I'm going to draw on this so you can see we've got Venus over here. Venus is our relationships. She's our values, core values. And in Leo, it can be a little bit about the ego, about I want my stuff. Leo is the king, the queen, the ruler, but also it's the heart. It's my heart's desire. Venus represents desire as well, what we desire. And in Leo, it can be what our heart desires. But we look at this, this is this aspect to Saturn. Here is an inconjunct, and then to here, and then all this squares Saturn, which of course is closest he'll ever be to Pluto again for a long time, like 30 years, and those two were what kicked off the trouble in this year, but well, along with other things. Anyway, what I'm saying is inconjunct is this kind of break free attitude. If you remember, Venus was over here. She's gone all the way around here, and she's starting to approach Saturn again. So she's in this kind of break free of old patterns in Saturn in Capricorn, which is attachment to the way it should be done, I'm going to say. She's in trine, which is a nice aspect, but it is heavy hitter planets. So a trine aspect to a frustrated Mars in Aries, asking us to kind of re-look at our will and our drive and our anger and how we express it. And then Eris, discord and chaos, revealing the artifice of our society and all such things. And all this is happening as Venus comes up to this and Saturn stations direct with Mars squaring afterwards. This is hugely tense. Thank goodness Venus is there as well, but even so, I think it's, trines are not always good. They can bring up stress too. I think our egos are going to take a bashing this year. And, what we thought we wanted and all that kind of stuff is going to really is going to be really under pressure. This is like the vice grip that I was talking about. I used a picture in fact, maybe I'll make that picture the cover of the of the video, of an apple being squashed in a vice for my daily post this morning, and this is what it feels. And an apple, if you think about it, is all to do with the divine feminine, but it's also to do with our fall from grace, so to speak, in Christian terms. The apple has been represented the divine feminine apple, pomegranate, one of the two. The seeds are seeds of creation. The apple was thrown by Eris. Everything we've created in this world is in this vice grip. It's like we are having to start to really think about how we are going to do things differently, how we are going to live differently, because the world is, in some areas, is in a state of collapse. And I'm going to write an article about that too, because really um, inspired by another article, because I lived in a war zone in the 70s. My family and I moved to Northern Ireland after the troubles between the Catholics and the Protestants, and the English and the Northern Irish Catholics had begun. I lived through rioting, I lived through bombing, I lived through knowing people that had been blown up and shot and died. And that's what collapse feels like. It's going to be messy, it's going to be violent, but then most of us just carried on while we're deciding what's for dinner, or deciding where to go out that night and things like that. Sure, our lives were changed, it was sad, distressing when somebody was killed. And we had to, we were searched constantly by the soldiers. We got used to going through checkpoints and being personally searched, or having our cars searched or pulled apart. Not that I was old enough to drive, but it happened when I was in cars. So all that energy is really um, at peak. This week is a real turning point. We also have a full moon coming. I'll get to that in a little bit. So sorry, I'm like going on really. This is going to be long. But look at this. We also have some good energy. Look at this kite. Okay. So Venus, as I said, is in trine aspect to Eris and Mars. She's also in trine aspect to the South Node. The South Node is the releasing end of the nodes. It's our past. It's where we're coming from. And this is dogma. And this is fixed beliefs. Sagittarius is great energy, but when it's on the South Node, this is really about the less wonderful energy, the less healthy energy, where we've been stuck in our dogmatic beliefs of all kinds. This can be religious dogma, this can be political dogma, can be always believing it has to be a certain way. It's my truth is my truth kind of thing. This is right, it's true because it's what I believe. And then Gemini is at this other end of the kite saying, open your minds. Look at things from a different perspective. Like I mentioned with the Mercury, from the perspective of somebody with different beliefs to you. Doesn't mean you have to agree. So it just means that this is, where can we think differently about this? And where can we change things, instead of being so stuck in the polarity. Anyway, the kite's a lovely aspect that we have going on as well. So all that is today. Well, no, not really. It's into tomorrow. So if I go forward a day, you can see that these lines are really strong from Venus to Saturn and to Mars. So this is moving into tomorrow. This is today and moving into tomorrow, and it's really strong. We also get the moon into Pisces, heading towards the Aries full moon. So the moon is waxing to full. It's in its waxing gibbous phase, it's called. So the energy of the moon is building. It's in Pisces. So with all this going on, you might feel quite emotional, because the moon is Pisces is a watery, emotional yin sign. It's a hugely empathic sign. So with all of this going on, people will be feeling very, very empathic, very hurting for the world kind of thing, and there can be a lot of fear with the moon in Pisces as well. So know that, you know, you may feel fear about what's happening in the world. You know, I see it all the time, you know, and I'm human. Even though I know the astrology and I've lived through a war zone, I have my moments where I go, "Oh, where can I escape to? Wish we could leave the country," and things like that. But where to go? Because it's everywhere, to be quite honest. You know, there's something everywhere where I could go. And like I said, you know, most people just get on with what's for dinner during a big crisis like we've got building. So the Mars, I do, before I just mention, move on, the Mars Saturn square. In fact, let me get to that exactly. At 25 degrees and 20 minutes is a real headbutting, real stressful, angry, frustrating square. It's the second square, of course, and I'm trying to remember when Mars squared Saturn before. I've lost that page. Anyway, it was back in August. Mars squared Saturn the first time. He was moving quite fast then, but it was a point of real tension. Mars Saturn square in Capricorn and Aries, both horn signs, is a lot of headbutting, a lot of, locking horns, fighting. Mars saying, we've got to redo this, and all this kind of stuff. Saturn at his station point saying, no, I'm keeping it as it is. So I'm getting a bit dramatic today. It's that kind of energy. This is really stressful. Okay. And that's later tomorrow. It's exact, but these things don't happen in a bubble. Then on then the kind of you know, things, we don't have any major aspects for a while, but we'll be reeling under these aspects. Okay, you can see the moon is in Pisces. It crosses over Neptune. I didn't show the exact time, but earlier on, late on Tuesday, the moon will conjunct Neptune. And that will, you know, lots of dreams, lots of fear. You may be feeling very, very empathic and very like, I just want to hide under the covers and spend some time alone. And I would suggest, if you can, to spend a lot of time alone, spend a lot of time in nature. Don't get caught up in that news cycle. Again, you know, I witness it because of, I want to see what's happening astrologically, but I do switch off and go and do nice things for myself. It would be a great time to, even if you have to go out in the world and things, when you get home, to have a bath, a long shower, Epsom salts, things like that, or go sit in the garden or go for a walk in nature while this waxing, very strong moon is building, and while Saturn is at his station point. He's still there, look, Wednesday. He's still at 25 degrees 20. Into Thursday, he's still there. This is just like Saturn in his ruling sign is just at this halt going, grind in, heavy hand of authority is going to come up. All right, it's quite painful. Sorry. And then on October the 2nd, he's still there. We see that, okay? Earlier in the day, okay, I'm going to go back a few hours. The action really kicks in. It's kind of like everything's stuck for the first half, well, for all this week, really, okay, leading into next weekend, into the full moon. It's like the energy is so powerful. It's like a pressure cooker. And a vice, like I said, it's like we're really being squeezed. All right. So then we get to Friday, and I'm not going to go to exact, but early on Friday, Venus she's reached the final degree of Leo. She's about to leave Leo. Okay, and she opposes Ceres, who is slowing down to station direct on October the 16th. And so this Leo Aries can be a bit about ego, a bit about what I want. Look at me, the queen or the king, and what humanity wants, but I think this is what's good for you, that kind of thing. Remember, it's also the plebeians. It is an opposition. She's the goddess of the plebeians, that is Ceres, the common people. This is in a square aspect to Sedna. That's and this is a very fixed T-square. Sedna is a spiritual destiny through crisis, according to Alan Clay of Dwarf Planet Astrology. He's studied Sedna greatly. This is a crossroads too, because this is saying let go of your ego and move into a more spiritual place. Okay, so I'm not going to harp on about that forever. Then Venus, to go back the other way, later that day moves into Virgo. Now Venus in Virgo is more service oriented, more wanting to do good things, to be useful. The values turn to what can I practically do for others. Okay, so I like that. Then October the 3rd. All right, I've got to go back a few hours because also on October the 2nd, actually it was on October the 1st, wasn't it? Sorry, I kind of just whizzed by too fast. But on October the 1st, before that Venus thing that I talked about, we have the full moon at 9 degrees of Aries with the sun at 9 degrees of Libra. And the full moon is conjunct Aries, Chiron in Aries. And it's involved with this opposition, this ego, this T-square thing. A full moon is a point of build up of energy, okay, again. Chiron is saying, I'm the key to healing. I keep saying it. Chiron in Aries is if it is to be, it's up to me. And this is not in the way of being selfish. This is saying, realize that you have to bring you into the we. You've got the key to healing. You can help others, Libra. You can help bring a more equitable society and all of that kind of thing. But it does bring up our wounds, first of all. You know, Chiron was, he gave up his immortality to cure his wound. He gave up the idea of being this god, you know, ruling over everything, to become human, to move down. He was half man, half human. He came down to move into his animal form so that he could die, so that he could get rid of this eternal wound that he had. We've got to come and realize our real humanity, our dirty humanity, that we are here in a human suit. We are none of us perfect. We are all flawed. We are here to do our best and to develop our spiritual life really in the best way possible. And then so that Venus moving into Virgo, we can help others and be useful and get back to kind of more menial work almost as well, not thinking we're too good for it anymore. We've become, I'm very much speaking to the Western mind, of course. We've become this society that, thinks it's too not, it's well sanitized away from it. We're being asked to get down and dirty and human, okay, and realize that that's what we're here for. Okay, to be fully human. So that's the full moon on Thursday, late. second for some of you in the world. And then we've got the whole Venus into Virgo thing, but we've also got the still full moon. I'm going to take it over here. The moon hits 24 degrees, and early the next day, Mars and Eris, brother and sister, are going to meet. That's a very discordant day. But at the same time, the moon eclipses or occults, which is like a mini eclipse, Mars, still in square to Saturn. Saturn's still not moved, all right? Okay, Saturn is still at his station point, still at that degree. That's another point of tension. That's like a big eclipse. That's like saying, okay, break off this headbutting, break off this fighting. Let's start bringing the change. Eris is also, Black Moon Lilith is also in there. It's another huge day. I cannot lie. This is like a big cosmic reset of saying we have got to change. We've got to move forward with change. Because also, at the same time, the next morning, I'm going to go forward hours again. The next morning, Saturn starts to move forward. Oh, Saturday. Oh, it's actually Sunday morning, early Sunday. Pluto stations direct. So luckily the moon moves into Taurus. Black Moon Lilith moves into Taurus, but on Sunday morning, Pluto stations direct. So Saturn has only just moved 1 degree, and then Pluto stations direct. The fact these two station in the same week, and these two are kind of the heavy energies of the chart. Saturn is the hard in Capricorn, can be, the hard word of the law. This is how it should be. But it can also be the wise elder. So you're being invited to move into this wise elder. Pluto is the big excavator. The transformer brings death and transformation of all kinds. Death to the patriarchy kind of energy. You can feel all that. Those two are, a minute further apart than they have been all week. Both at their station points, both grinding in. When these two station, we really feel it. It really feels like that vice. We're being so squeezed, but we're being asked to change, to look at other perspectives. Mars is in this opening quarter. Mars is moving away from Saturn and Pluto. He was earlier in the year conjunct them. So he's squaring, but he's going back and then going to come forward and square them again. He's saying, think again, revisit what we need to change. Okay, huge. Just huge. It's like, oh, my goodness. Vesta comes in where Venus was at the end of the week too. She reaches that point and she forms that kite with Mars and Eris. Vesta is our flame, our inner flame, our focus, our commitment. It feels to me like she's saying, okay, you got that little lesson earlier in the week. Now I'm going, bring your focus and commitment into what your heart really, really desires. Not in the ego way, not in the I want to rule the world or the money. Bring it into the deeper heart's desires. Okay. Huge. I'm wondering if I have anything else to say. It's a massive week. On next Sunday as well, we also end with the moon moving into Taurus, hitting Uranus. That can bring some surprises, especially with all this other energy. Mercury is moving quite fast towards his retrograde the following week. But with this square, with Mars meeting Eris, Saturn and Pluto stationing all in square to each other, this is probably the biggest week of the year. It's tough, it's hard, we're being squeezed, but I have to tell you that having, lived 60 years on this planet, being squeezed, like diamonds get squeezed. The earth squeezes to create a diamond. Real possibilities can come out of this. We've just got to take a good look at ourselves, which is the full moon in Aries with Chiron there. What do we need to do? What this final bit of healing? Well, not final. We're on forever, but what do we need to do? What do you need to heal? What do you need to think differently about? The North Node. Because then you can see as well the nodes move backwards as they do to 22 degrees, and guess what they aspect? Pluto's station is in an inconjunct, which is a real break free aspect to the North Node. Thinking differently, changing how you look at things. Huge week. I want to send you so much love, and just stay in your peace. Okay, stay in your heart. Much love.